Hey everyone, just to let you know, we are going to be going live on YouTube here in a few seconds. And thank you for your patience as we were fixing some technical issues.
Shivi, please check Teams for a message.
I will. I saw it. I'm on my way right now. Where did your name go? All right. Okay, Michael, you can go ahead. Michael, if you want to do it from there, that's fine.
Hello, everyone. Shivi, can you confirm that you're able to hear me, or Dr. Brown?
I can hear you and I can see the slide.
All right, wonderful.
Yes.
We'll get started. Thank you. First, thanks everyone for being so patient. These things do happen, but we're moving forward right now. I'm excited to be able to present and introduce you to our guest today. Of course, we're asking you to make sure that your cameras are turned off and that your microphone is muted. This is the session titled Upward Mobility and the Path to Senior Executive Roles, Why Black and Brown Leaders Matter. And it's my pleasure now to introduce our presenters, Dr. Katrina Ramsey Arnold and Dr. Levy Brown. Dr. Katrina Ramsey Arnold serves as the Senior Director of Development, Education, and Academic Success at Pitt Community College in Winterville, North Carolina. She holds 3 degrees from East Carolina University, a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science, a Master of Arts in Adult Education, and a Doctorate of Education in Educational Leadership, Higher Education Administration. Dr. Arnold's research interests include community college leadership, Black women leaders and their experience as administrators at community colleges, and supporting racial and minoritized students at community colleges. Dr. Arnold is active in her local community and serves on the corporate board of the Boys and Girls Club of the Coastal Plain. She is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, where she currently serves as secretary for a chapter, and she is 3rd vice president of the Greenville-Pitt County area section of the National Council of Negro Women. Dr. Arnold currently resides in Greenville, North Carolina, with her husband and her daughter. Dr. Levy Brown serves as the vice president of Learning, Student Engagement, and Success, chief academic and student affairs officer at Vance-Granville Community College. Prior to joining VGCC, he served as Dean of Arts and Sciences at Lenoir Community College, located in Kinston, North Carolina. Dr. Brown has spent time in leadership roles at Brunswick Community College, Pitt Community College, and East Carolina University, respectively. Dr. Brown successfully completed the Thomas Lincoln Institute, a presidential leadership preparation program sponsored by the President's Roundtable and the National Council on Black American Affairs, NCBAA, both affiliates of the American Association of Community College. Dr. Brown completed the 8th annual Asa G. Hillard III and Barbara A. Sizemore Research Institute on African Americans and Education, sponsored by the American Educational Research Association, AERA. research focused on Black education during his doctoral studies at East Carolina University. Dr. Brown's dissertation is titled An Examination of African American Leadership Practices and Upward Mobility Within the North Carolina Community College System. Dr. Brown serves as a new member of the American Association of Community College Commission on Student Success. Further, he was recently appointed to the Transfer Advisory Committee as a NCCS representative. Dr. Brown serves on local boards to make an impact in the community. Brown's educational studies include an earned Bachelor of Science in Communication from East Carolina University, a Master of Library Science from North Carolina Central University, Durham, North Carolina, and an earned doctorate in education with a concentration in higher education administration from East Carolina University. Dr. Levy Brown and his wife, Elissa, reside in Franklin County with their 2 school-aged children. Dr. Brown believes in helping others to become successful. If time allows, we will have Q&A at the end. So we ask that you drop your questions in the Q&A section. Thank you for your patience. Dr. Brown and Dr. Katrina Ramsey Arnold, thank you. Make sure your mics are not muted.
Okay, good afternoon. Happy Friday afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited you all are able to join us this afternoon. I know you have had a great day in sessions, learning so much. I know the sessions I attended were very rich and I've been learning a lot today, and just so thankful to be able to see several of my colleagues presenting today and also in session. So we're excited to be able to share some information with you today. I am going to share my screen. Okay, and so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm excited again to be here with my colleague, Dr. Levy Brown. We have known each other for quite some time. We were actually a part of the same cohort, doctoral cohort at ECU. Yes. And we are very excited to share with you today some of our research and also some of our personal experiences. So we hope to engage you in conversation. We hope to hear from you also today. We want to make this as engaging as possible and hear from you, like I said before. So please don't be shy. We'll be asking you some questions today. And so we'll hope you will respond to our questions. Dr. Brown, do you want to say something as we move into?
Quickly, just again, thank you all for joining us. We know this is the last session of the day. You've taken in so much, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Engage with us, answer the questions through chat, or even when we have an opportunity, we still believe, if time permits, to let you even chime in verbally on some of those questions, if time permits. So we look forward to it, and we're ready to roll. So really quickly, as we set up this session, we wanted to make sure that we enter in a space of reflection, and we thought it would be important to just share, some of the things that are near and dear to us. Of course, you heard through the reading of the bios and all of that, that we are near and dear as it relates to upper mobility and the success of Black and Brown leaders in the community college setting and outside of this space. And so one of the things that resonated with me during a reflection time about a week ago is the quote from Langston Hughes. I'm not going to read all of it, but we just wanted to let you know that, it was important as we have gone through our journeys and we've reflected on, you know, how we have gotten to the places that we've gotten to at this point. And this quote, I will share some of it. I've discovered in life that there are ways of getting almost anywhere you want to go, if you really want to go. And for me, that talks about persistence and pushing through and making a way, even if the doors seem to be closed or stagnant. So just think about that, let that resonate with you. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague for her to share her quote.
Okay, and so again, as Dr. Brown said, you know, we want to kind of reflect a little bit, and we've done some reflection ourselves, you know, as we prepared to engage with you today. One of the quotes that resonates with me, especially when I start to think about, you know, just the journey and whatever that journey may look like for us, especially for Brown and Black people, is this Shirley Chisholm quote. And I know it's probably familiar to you all. If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And for me, my research interest and the research that I have studied and conducted in my career has really focused on, you know, barriers that exist for Black and Brown leaders, especially women of color and African-American women. And so this quote in particular kind of allows me to reflect on how we navigate the various complexities that exist as we seek different positions. It's especially true, and we see these barriers and we experience these barriers, especially as Black and Brown leaders and especially women. And so I thought about this, and I thought about how we're going to be talking today about, you know, why representation matters. And also those opportunities that are rarely handed to us. And so we're going to have a discussion about, you know, just strategies and how to be intentional in navigating and creating your own path, bringing your own folding chair, because that's what's going to have to happen. I look at these strategies as our folding chair that allow us to create our own seat at the table, because again, it's not handed to us. And sometimes it's much more of a struggle for us as Black and Brown people to navigate that. Okay, and so what we want to do here is we want to engage you a little bit. We want to get you to respond to a poll just related to what leadership role do you aspire to hold in the community college environment. My colleague is going to put the link to the poll in the chat so you could easily click on that, and it'll take you to poll everywhere. And then we're going to kind of see where you are as leaders, what you aspire to do. And so we'll give you just a moment. Okay, it looks like so far we have a lot of future vice presidents in the room today. Okay, and you can continue. We'll give you another couple of minutes and we'll just talk a little bit. We just wanted to engage you and see kind of where you are in your process. I will say for you, will say to you that, you know, many times personally in my own career, I had no idea. Sometimes I still don't have any idea of what I want to do when I grow up. I constantly have these discussions with myself, and that's okay. But I think, at some point you start to think about, your career path, where you see yourself in 5 years and 10 years, whatever it may be. And so that's kind of where I know myself and Dr. Brown, we've had conversations about this. We've reflected a lot on these different positions and different levels and kind of where we see ourselves, and then beginning to develop strategies to reach that particular goal. Okay, and so I will go ahead and exit out of the poll, but it looks like the winner is Vice President. So yeah, we're so excited. And Dr. Brown can give you a lot of tips and advice on the Vice President role. And again, I see there are several presidents. So we have some future presidents in the room. And I think some of you that don't even know that you're a future president, you're in the room. And so we'll go through and talk about, just strategies. But I think what's most important, regardless of where you are in your career journey now and where you aspire to be, whatever that looks like, it's okay. And you develop strategies based on what that career goal is.
And so knowing that, 10% of the group here who responded are looking to be a president, 25% looking to be a VP. I think it was around 13% or so that was AVP, and we have some future deans as well. And all of those things are admirable. With that being said, the community college leadership landscape is definitely changing across the country, right? And whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, the South, whatever the case may be. And, there are a couple of great resources and associations that are out there that really talk about, the future of community college leadership. A lot of times those thought leaders and organizations put out literature and research. And so we would like to also encourage each of us, and we'll say us because we're still learning on this journey as well, to continue to delve in and to, tap into the resources that are available through Aspen and Achieving a Dream. One of the papers that we were looking at and have been studying a little bit more over the last few months or so is the Crisis and Opportunity, Aligning Community College Presidency with Student Success. That is a really good resource, but it really talked about, how the landscape is changing and the number of retirements that are coming up. And so for those who are optimists or looking to grow in your journey of leadership and experience upward mobility, know that your opportunity, or there will be a lot of opportunities that will become available for you. I read something earlier this week, and it was talking about, it was a study from AACC a few years back that within the next 5 years still is projected that 42% of community college presidents will retire, right? And so what does that mean? For those who may not want to be a president, but you want to be a vice president, or you want to be a dean or AVP, with that being said, you have an opportunity to grow because presidents are retiring, but also vice presidents and deans who have been within the academy for a long time are retiring as well. Also, we know that age and all of the things associated with that, as far as the graying of America, the baby boomers are, as we've talked about, going to enjoy, where we say, the beach or the mountains or whatever their desired retirement location may be. And so again, we just wanted to share with you that opportunities will exist. Look, think about it. There are approximately 1,150 plus community colleges across the country, right? And so there's an opportunity for individuals to have upward mobility, especially men and women of color, Black leaders, and brown leaders. Also, we just wanted to, if you're not familiar with, we wanted to put a plug in for some of the research that is out there from a few years back, also from the National Council on Black American Affairs. And they really have highlighted within their work about the Black president specifically and what that looks like. And, you know, the fact of the matter is right now, there's a lot of desired movement to see more Black leaders and brown leaders in the role of the presidency. Right now, you're talking about approximately 10% or so. African Americans represent approximately 10% of the executive and administrative roles and in community colleges across the country. And so there are opportunities to grow. Later on in our talk, we will be talking about, you know, looking at these specific strategies. And we think that's really the meat of the presentation. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on laying the backdrop, but we want to get to those points as well.
I also wanted to add, Dr. Brown, too, to your point of that grading of America and leadership. If we have any presidents or VPs that have connections with your board of trustees or any other positions at your college that have connections, another point that a lot of the literature discusses too is with that grain of leadership, you know, what are institutions doing to prepare for that and to, you know, fill these positions that will become vacant when these leaders retire. And as Dr. Brown said, we have presidents retiring and chief officers retiring. And so, you know, just something to think about, you know, as discussion on your campuses, you know, what is your campus doing to create a plan to replace and not just to fill the positions, but also to fill these positions with individuals from diverse backgrounds and Black and brown leaders who are qualified for these positions.
You know, there is an exhaustive list. We just opted to pull some things out of the research for the purposes of this talk about why representation matters and is important. And, you know, one of the things we are reminded of, and it is very clear in the data, that approximately half of the students enrolled at community colleges are non-white students. So there's a browning. The demographers have talked about for years now, and we're seeing it come to fruition within our country that our nation is browning. And so what does that mean even for us as higher education leaders, community college leaders, and for those who are making the decision to place and select Black and brown leaders in leadership roles throughout their organizations, from whatever the case may be, a director, a senior director, AVP, on up the chain. And so those are some important things for us to remember there. Some of the literature talked about from Orlando Jackson, he talked about in some of his early research about the diverse teaching and learning experience for all students. When you have a diverse organization or higher ed space, whether it be in the community college or the university setting as well. And so that is an important piece to remember. Also connecting students of color and creating basically a sense of belonging. We know that there's literature there. And how do you create that sense and those meaningful connections? A lot of institutions have really worked towards mentor-mentee relationships within the higher ed space. And so some of those things are extremely important as we look to have more representation in the administrative ranks. And not to say that it is only Black or brown people that are able to care for students of color. We're not purporting that, but what we're saying is it is important, and there is a connectivity when those students know that they have someone in a particular space and who is an advocate at the table for them in the institution. Dr. Arnold?
And one thing, I'm at Pitt Community College, and we are an Achieving the Dream institution. Was just having a conversation with our equity team on yesterday, just about, strategies that we plan to implement on our campus to promote equity and racial equity among our students. But that conversation did turn a little bit to start to talk about, the inclusivity of our faculty and staff, and then how representation is important. And so, for us, and I think for all of us, it's important, we're focused on student success, and we're going to do whatever we need to do to make sure our students are successful. And equity is a huge part of that, but we also can't lose focus of what that looks like on the faculty and staff side. And so one thing that we have started to do on our campus is to look at our data in regards to the makeup of our faculty, race, gender, and disaggregate that data so that we can determine, if we are doing a good job as far as diversity is concerned. And then if not, we need to have some conversations so that we can make some changes, because we do recognize that, research shows, as Dr. Brown said, that, our students of color, African-American students, and especially I know at Pitt, we're looking at our African-American male population, and they juggle so many different things, and they have so many barriers and experience cultural and institutional barriers. And one particular way that we have learned that we can offer them support is to provide them with faculty and staff of color as well. And so that's a conversation that I know we're having in regards to, again, why representation is important.
And so we wanted to share, because we work in the North Carolina community college system, and Dr. Arnold talked about her particular campus. There are some examples at Vance-Granville as well. But what we wanted to share with you is, our demographic makeup. And this is based off of reporting from our 2019 equity report for the community college system. But the cohort year, or the academic year in which these totals were tabulated, was from the 2017-18 academic year. But basically, the community college system as a whole served a little over 400,000 students during that time. Just so that we wanted to paint a backdrop here as we talk about another important part, is that students of color made up approximately 35% of curriculum student population across all 58 community colleges right here in North Carolina. And so curriculum programs, credit programs, depending on what institution, what state you're in, is what is referred to. But those who are earning and seeking to earn those associate degrees and longer term credentials. The other thing is students of color made up approximately 67% of our career and college ready population, which in some states that have and serve that particular group is called adult basic skills. There are a lot of different names, but 67%. Students of color made up approximately 27% of continuing education courses, which may be the student is coming to campus to take one particular course at one time, 1 hour on a Wednesday night, and they have learned what they needed to learn. And so that's our breakdown in our population within our North Carolina community college system as relates to students of color. And so we're talking about Black students or African Americans. We're talking about Latinx students. We're talking about Native American students as well, and Asian Americans. So we're mixing, when we say student of color, that's who we're talking about in this particular slide. And so you may say, well, Levy and Katrina, why did you share the student numbers? We did it for a reason. And so we just want to reflect really quickly. You saw the breakdowns into percentages of the students of color within the North Carolina Community College system. And then when you get to Black and Brown leadership, senior leadership at the state level, you begin to see a percentage disconnect. And so African Americans, according to recent data, occupy approximately 11% of senior level administrative roles in North Carolina. This is very consistent with when I did my dissertation research as well, about 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago or so, and it's still consistent today. There has been some change, but not a significant percentage change. And so this is something that continues to catch our attention as scholar practitioners, right? Because we're in the system. One thing you may ask is, why does this mean anything? Just reflect on, we talked about representation. We talked about making connections. We talked about understanding your students a little bit. And so also Latinx leaders make up less than 1% of senior level leadership roles in the North Carolina Community College system. And so we realize that within every state, there are opportunities to improve and strengthen. And so we wanted to take this time in this space to also contribute to the opportunities for others who aspire to get to those roles. And so that's where it will hopefully connect for all of us in this session in a little bit.
And I'll add too, Dr. Brown, I think it's been interesting, even as, and you refer to your dissertation, and I think about, my dissertation and just pulling these statistics at that time. And again, things have not changed very much. And it's been about 4 years for me since I defended my dissertation. And it's just been really concerning to me to see that things aren't moving as we would like them to. I mean, our student population is becoming more and more and more diverse each year. But as far as Black and Brown leaders at the senior level, in these senior level positions, they're not progressing at the same rate.
And you may say, how do we know? We've looked at it. We've continued to study, and this graphic is not as large. Hopefully it'll look better when the slides go out. But basically, you're talking about, if you look at the American Indian, Alaskan Native population, and you look at the total number of senior level classified administrators in the North Carolina Community College system, which based on the reports that we have been able to examine, it would be 334 out of 58 institutions. And so you can let your eyes do the following. We're not going to go through every number, but we will point to, if you look at our Asian population as well, if you look at Black females and Black males, if you look at our Hawaiian Pacific Islanders population, and you can see the extreme lack of representation there. And you look at our Hispanic population or Latinx population, and then those who identify as multiracial. And you go to the far end of the chart, and you will see, or graph, and you will see that the white population and makes up the majority, right? So white females are coming in at 129, which is representation of 39%. And then white males, 152 hold down one of these senior level categories at 45%. And so we wanted to paint the picture. We wanted to share this information, and again, let you know some of the stats from our community college system, which does not differ a whole lot from what the national picture looks like, to be honest, except for a few states, and that would be another presentation and conversation. And one thing we wanted to make sure, as we talk about career pathways, and I'm keeping an eye on, I think we both are keeping an eye on the chat, some great conversation going on there. But, you know, it would be hard for us to talk about pathways and the journey to the top without acknowledging, and I'm not going to read this whole quote, but the complexities of the workplace, including racism, prejudice, stereotyping, and biases that exist currently as it relates to employment discrimination, or just being in the workspace in a higher ed setting, specifically community colleges for this conversation. And so those things have impact. It impacts wages and earnings. It impacts, you know, mental health, which I know folks have talked about that. There's a lot of literature out there about the impact and what does John Henryism look like and what does that mean for Black people, you know. So there's a lot. And so we wanted to share some of the research and some of the pieces that have resonated with us there.
And for this one, again, I'll allow you all to read through this. But as I shared at the beginning, most of my research focuses on women administrators, women of color in higher education administration, and especially at the community college level. And I have had the opportunity to spend some time with women in these positions that have navigated the various barriers that we face as we're trying to, you know, reach our career goals, and just talk to them about the barriers that they faced. And so some of these particulars are in this quote, and they continue to come up in the research, but also, you know, as I've been able to do some qualitative research and speak with leaders at those different levels, they continue to come up as well. And so, you know, we talk about, I know you all are probably familiar with Kimberly Crenshaw and how she talks about marginalization that African-American women face and various prejudices that stem from intersectionality, or the way people's social identities overlap. And so we talk about that intersectionality. And then also, I know a lot of my focus has been on critical race feminism. And so it kind of talks about, it stems from critical race theory, but it talks about how, you know, even Black women have specific experiences that are even different from Black men. And so we can't, you know, just kind of be put under, you know, that category of Black because of that intersectionality and how those experiences are different. And so just thinking through that, as I have had these conversations and done qualitative research, one of the biggest things for me is to determine, you know, of course, we're going to face these barriers, and we've witnessed this, is in the literature. We know firsthand, some of us, but how do we overcome those barriers? And so I think that that's what's critical, because we understand that they exist. They can hinder our progress as we, you know, try to move forward. And also they can contribute to our decisions about whether or not we will move forward. And we don't want that to happen. And so again, we'll move into, you know, just some strategies, but I kind of wanted to talk through this with you all today, because, you know, just to highlight this piece and those barriers that are specific to our women administrators, especially Black women and women of color. Okay, so I think we're going to move into some quick discussion. I know we're, again, keeping an eye on time, so we want to hear from you a little bit. Dr. Brown and I really love to engage, and we're trying our best to be as creative as possible in this platform now that we're virtual. If we were in a room together, we would, you know, be able to engage face to face, but we want to quickly kind of go through some of these questions and hear from you. You can type in the chat just kind of what your thoughts are on these particular topics. And so the first one, what do you see as one of the most significant barriers Black and Brown leaders face when working toward upward mobility in the academy? Dr. Brown, I'll let you monitor the chat.
Yes, I'm looking. I'm waiting for this great feedback. Absolutely.
And so we talk about some of these barriers, isolation, racism, especially. We talk about, again, how intersectionality plays a role in that. And so there are a lot of different barriers that Black and brown leaders experience that are unique to our experiences as we progress.
We did receive, or we're receiving feedback. Bullying is listed, authenticity, the bias of senior leaders, not having strong professional networks that others may have, implicit bias, microaggressions. I was looking for that as well. Mm-hmm. So a lot of great feedback. Also building meaningful relationships with people who can influence. We're seeing that also based on this feedback, nepotism and sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good. Great feedback. Thank you all for engaging.
Thank you. Okay, next, can you describe your current ability to establish a strong professional network? And I think that is a challenge or a barrier that we face. So if some of you want to chime in and just give us some feedback on how you are currently establishing those networks.
As they're mm-hmm. chiming in, there's another another chat that just came in. When you want to move up in your career, the people who are deciding if you will get the promotion just do not seem to understand the person sometimes. So that's a feeling that has been expressed mm-hmm. Here in the chat. Also, Hyro says that I am great at it because I know Katrina and Levy. Oh my, oh my. And then Dr. Austin chimes in and says, great presentation, colleagues, ECU alum. No doubt, Pirate Pride as well.
That's right.
And Dr. Arnold, yep, I see you move to the next one.
Okay. And just very quickly, and we'll move, we have this question and one more. What types of special programs or affinity groups does your current organization have to assist leaders of color with professional growth? And so I know, for example, our college, our president, he established a leadership academy, which is open to all individuals on campus. But I think it has been very, very instrumental for, again, all faculty and staff, but also our faculty and staff of color who are interested in leadership roles or who just want to learn more about, how community colleges work. And also they support us in outside professional development and leadership development opportunities. Okay, and this is the last one. We're going to move on to the next slide so we can continue through, but just think about, the impact of Black and brown leaders on student success. And we talked about that a little bit, and you can continue to put feedback in the chat, and we will hopefully get to some of that near the end. We do want to provide you with some strategies for successfully navigating the academy. And so we'll go through these fairly quickly, and again, put any questions in the chat box. The first one is developing an area of expertise. And Dr. Brown and I have talked about this at length about, just making sure you know what your area of expertise is. And I think that's important. And I want to turn it over to Dr. Brown so he can kind of give you some feedback on his experience, as he's kind of navigated and reached that vice president role of how he developed that area of expertise.
Yeah, look, really quickly, I think it's important, and we are learning from our experiences that it's important to understand what you have a true passion about and what you are good at and what you have an interest in as well, and finding a way to develop whatever it is. If your thing is you're excellent at and have an affinity towards DEI work, or if you are really passionate about teaching and learning and building academic programs, or you're really passionate about tutoring, develop that expertise and just continue to move forward and put yourself in places and spaces that will allow you to grow, and will enable you to connect with individuals who will support you in those environments. So that's what I would say to developing an expertise. Figure out what you're good at. You may not be able to do 1,000 things at once, right? But what are you really good at, and what are you passionate about, and make it happen from there. We have seen this in the literature from our professional and personal experiences. The network and the importance of networking is probably one of the biggest things to upward mobility and career success. You have to, and we have to continue to connect, and even if it's challenging, connect and reach out to folks. And, you'll be surprised that, there are people, and I know some folks have expressed that they're having challenges, and I have had that before as well, full transparency. And, but with that being said, continue to connect with others who are looking to grow and who will also promote your professional skill set, right? Someone who's supportive, or individuals who are supportive. And, you may find out also that, mentors and as we talk about networking and mentorship, working together as well, that's a big part of this network. And so, Dr. Arnold, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, and Dr. Brown knows this about me, this one for me is a little challenging, because I am probably more of an introvert. And so that is something that I've had to work through myself. But what I have found is making those connections with colleagues within my institution and outside of my institution. I was very fortunate to be in an awesome cohort in my doctoral program that I made connections. And then those people allowed me to make additional connections and build that network. And so that has worked well for me. So if for all of my introverts out there, just make those smaller connections and allow them to grow. And you'll see your network grow when you do that. Okay, and we want to talk about, a lot of the literature talks about mentorship and sponsorship, and we wanted to make sure that we include that mentorship and sponsorship piece, because both are really, really important. Connecting with mentors can also be a challenge, and so that's something that we want to kind of make sure that you are aware of, and also kind of help you out if you are having some challenges with that piece. I know for myself, I've been able to connect with mentors through different positions that I've been in, or even outside of my particular institution. And sometimes from that network that I have built, I've been able to connect with mentors. And so, it's just being strategic and trying to meet people and understand people. And you will know, and Dr. Brown and I have talked about this, when you found a really good mentor, as you're expanding your network and you're getting to know people, and you really want to find people that you can call on if you need to talk to them about something that's going on in your leadership journey, and be able to connect with.
Dr. Arnold, I'll say, I think you've covered it with mentors. And so some people may say, well, what's the difference between a mentor and a sponsor, right? I know, really quickly, mentor is that guide and, that person who will give you feedback, sometimes even when you don't want that feedback. And so I'm just going to talk in regular terms here.
That's right.
But the sponsor, as defined even in some of the literature, is really that individual who's also looking out for you. So they may be in a room that you're not even in, and they will speak your name to help you get to that next level, whether it's a committee work or leading a major campus-wide initiative or serving on a major board outside of your organization. And so we just wanted to give a couple of seconds to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think most of you are probably aware of this particular strategy, and just professional learning and development. As much professional development as you can engage in is always great. I go back to, you know, that area of expertise that you have created. And so making sure that you are knowledgeable and you're utilizing your resources as far as professional development are concerned, to continue to develop and learn more. And also, you know, engaging and learning outside of your area of expertise, I think is always critical, especially as you navigate your career path.
Mid-level and executive leadership training. You know, we've talked about, I know Dr. Arnold has been through institutes with AACC, Future Leaders Institute.
Yes, the Roosh Future Leaders Institute, and then AACC also has the Future Presidents Institute as well.
So those are the types of things that we should look to engage in. You also have the League of Innovation opportunity to have ELI, Executive Leadership Institute, which is built more so for aspiring presidents. But I do believe others would benefit who are looking to get into senior level administrative roles if they're at the dean's level or higher, I believe is how that is written out sometimes. The Lakin Institute was a phenomenal experience for me as well, and working with some of the dynamic colleagues from the President's Roundtable, those types of experiences. I know others have gone through the Aspen Institute, which is definitely one of the most sought after presidential training opportunities now in our country, but there are a lot of opportunities out there, and we just encourage you all to look into those as you're looking to grow in your journey, because again, the networking, the learning, the long-lasting relationships and partnerships that you will forge, you never know exactly how those things will play out. And I say that with a smile because they're definitely beneficial, definitely beneficial.
Okay, and committee and task force work, I'll just share very briefly that this was one for me that allowed me to kind of get out of my comfort zone. When I first started working in the community college, I worked in basic skills, and I started as an adjunct instructor and moved into a coordinator's position. And one of the pieces for me, and I've talked to other colleagues, was, you know, how do I move outside of that area which falls under continuing education when I start to develop an interest in academic affairs or student services? And one of the key pieces for me was to become involved on campus in various committees and on task force. So just throwing that out there because I think that's important. You also begin to learn about different parts of the campus. You engage in opportunities that you may not have thought you would ever be engaged in, which is important as you navigate, you know, your career path. And so committees, volunteer, say yes. Don't say yes too much. I've got myself into a bit of trouble saying yes to too many things. But, you know, even if it's something that's not comfortable for you, take a risk because you'd be surprised what you learn. Okay, and that kind of goes along with what I just talked about. Dr. Brown, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a little bit, but just, you know, utilizing those opportunities that are not necessarily the most familiar to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is important. Those out of scope learning opportunities or stretch assignments, as Dr. Arnold and I have talked about before, and others, getting that done. One example is when I was Dean of Student Services at Lenoir Community College here in North Carolina, I was at a retreat for our administrative council at a time, and our president, who has at the time, who has since retired, made a call, and he shared that, hey, I really want to revamp this performance evaluation process, and you know, is outdated and antiquated. And so one of the things, I'm in a room, one of the youngest, African-American male, one of the youngest in the room, and we talk about, you know, not being afraid to step up. And so there were probably 30 folks in the room, and no one else said that they were willing to take that on. Some may say, hey, that should be human resources, and I get it. However, with that being said, human resources did not volunteer, so I did. I volunteered, and then one of my colleagues, who was an associate dean at the time, volunteered, and we co-led that effort to help improve and strengthen our performance evaluation system. It was paper-based. When we started, we convened a number of individuals, a task force basically, and by the time our work was over, we had converted it in working with IT and HR to an online process. It's my understanding, and one of our colleagues, I believe, Athena Wilson, is on this in this presentation. It may still be in standings now as it relates to an electronic process, but we help to do that. And so with that being said, those out of scope learning opportunities are very important. And it also gave me a direct line, and Dr. Arnold and I talked about this the other evening, a direct line to report to the president on this particular project. And so with that being said, I'll stop there.
Okay, and so we just want to share our information with you. If you're interested in getting connected to a professional mentor, email us. We have some connections, and so we'd like to, share that information with you if you are interested. If you have additional questions and want to reach out to us, please feel free to do so. Our email addresses are on the slide. We would love to engage in additional conversations. I know this is a short amount of time for us to be able to talk about this, so please do reach out so we can chat a little bit more after this presentation. Okay, and I don't know if we really have time for questions. I know we had some technical difficulties and we got started a little bit late.
I think I think we have time. If you guys, we don't want to keep our presenters longer than needed, but we apologize for the delay earlier. So
yeah, and we're fine.
Yeah, we're fine, Mike.
And forgive me, but I'm having difficulty hearing where I am. So if I ask you to repeat something to me, if you say something, I apologize.
So maybe no more questions?
I don't see any more. And I think some people have started leaving to go to the final session.
Mm-hmm.
Very good, very good.
I think you guys delivered so much good content that we couldn't even take anymore. That's great. That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Well, thank you. Thank you all so much for joining us. Again, reach out to us. We're happy to chat more, and have a great weekend.
Have a great one, you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, what is going on with this today? No, I cannot pop out. Let's see.
Or do I need to switch it back over, or just
if you can make me the host, that would be great, because I can't make myself the host. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Oh, I got it. Okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank y'all both. We really do appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Arnold. Thank you, Dr. Brown. It's exactly what we expected. So thank you.
Well, look, let me ask you this. This has been great. Can we get, are you all comfortable with us copying this chat information? Because there's some good, I think some people put some good resources in there that I don't want.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. When I
close the chat,
okay,
I will get a copy of I'll get a copy of the chat and I can send it to y'all.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much.
Take great care.
Thank you.
All right.